Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of my podcast, Book and Story World with author Priya Grewal. So I hope everyone's had a wonderful 2 weeks since my last episode, and hope everyone's enjoying the autumn so far. So for today's episode, I've decided to read the rest of my romance novel called Indecisive in season 1, episode 11, I think. I read out the first 5 chapters of my book Indecisive, so I've decided to read the rest of the story today. So it is available on Amazon in paperback or on Kindle by myself, Priya Grewal. The subtitle on front is Does Perto follow the crowd and listen to his friends to play the field or stay with the one he loves? A quick recap of the first 5 chapters. So there's a boy called Perto and a girl called Zarvel. He asks her to become his girlfriend when they're 16 during their GCSE summer. So then when school starts again, we get a look at the perspective of an anonymous person, so we don't know who that is yet, who's saying they were friends with, saying they used to speak to Zarvel first, and her, and they enjoyed her personality, so they were twisted with jealousy, seeing Zarvel and Perto a couple. So we don't know who the mysterious person who's jealous of them is yet. And wants Zarvel to themselves. So Zarvel's got three friends who are girls, and Perto's got, I think it was 7 boys who are his friends, and they've all become one big gang together and socialize. And it's 2 years after their relationship began. They're celebrating their A-level results. Shortly after that, one of Perto's friends called Mareth organizes a boys only day at his house, and then he starts talking about going to university, being in halls and playing something called The Game that his brother recommended, where they hook up with different girls in their accommodation rooms and then make a game out of it. And they've started to put pressure on Perto to join in with them and break up with Zarvel. So Perto doesn't want to break up with Zarvel. He loves her, but he wants to fit in with his friends as well. So the rest of the story is about his dilemma and what decision he comes to. And in chapter 5, we saw the perspective of the jealous person who says the breakup of Zarvel and Perto has begun. Right, so let's pick up from where we left off. Indecisive, chapter 6. Perto was at the cinema alone with Zarvel. He had wanted to spend time with her himself without the rest of the group. Perto glanced at Zarvel from the corner of his eye. She sat happily eating popcorn and watching the film, blissfully ignorant about what he was thinking about. Do I stay with Zarvel or choose to fit in with the guys in the group? Perto questioned himself silently. He glanced over Zarvel's pretty face as she was glued to the film. Was it true? Would I have more fun hooking up with other girls in my university room for my younger years and then settling down later, hopefully with Zarvel? Or do I just want to fit in with the guys? I've been friends with themselves longer than I've been with Zarvel. Perto thought to himself. I'll think about it later. Perto tried to refocus on the film again. Chapter 7. Zarvel was at a coffee shop in the high street with Amazra, Tazia, Harisa and Vimal the next day, getting a hot chocolate. It was the following day after Zarvel had gone to the cinema with Perto. The girls and Vimal took a seat at a table in the coffee shop. Amazra had found out that the boys had all met up for some male bonding time, as they had called it, without the girls. Mareth had called her on the phone and spoken to her. Amazra had got jealous of the males meeting up without themselves and had organised the 4 girls meeting up without the boys. She asked Vimal to come along too. He's probably not allowed to have girls at his house yet, Tazia laughed. We're only 18. So, I don't care, Amazra contradicted. I want to do the same thing with you girls then. They all laughed. And me? Vimal asked Amazra. How come I got an invite? Oh, Amazra exclaimed. You're one of the girls anyway. Vimal laughed. Thanks, I think, Vimal joked. So, How's everything with Perto? Harissa asked Zarvel. The other 3 girls didn't have a boyfriend at the moment. Vimal was also single. Everyone glanced at Zarvel, waiting for her to answer. Great, Zarvel responded. I'm having a blast. This is the greatest summer ever. The other 4 smiled. Are you going to miss being in the same school as himself? Tazia asked. You'll be seeing him a little less than now. No, Zarvel responded. We can visit one another and crash for the night at each other's halls. That will make up for the hours we're used to hanging with one another in school, Zarvel told them. Oh, that's true, Harissa responded. Are you looking forward to meeting new people going on the student nights in clubs? Vimal asked the 4 girls. Are you looking forward to meeting new people or going on the student nights in clubs? Vimal asked the 4 girls. Both, the Mazra responded. The other girls agreed. The 5 friends continued to chatter over their hot chocolates, excited about the future of going to university and all living in the centre of the city together during term time. Chapter 8. Mareth had organised another meet-up at his house for the boys in the group a few days later. They were having fun again, talking and flicking through music video channels together. Perto hadn't brought up the topic of the game and breaking up with Zarvel. He was avoiding the subject. Suddenly, Mareth muted the television and turned to look at Perto. The other boys glanced at Mareth and then glanced at Perto with small smiles on their faces. Perto, Mareth exclaimed, have you come to a decision yet? Perto stared back at Mareth. No, he grumbled moodily. The rest of the boys groaned. You're going to miss out on so much fun, Timar responded. You'll just end up feeling left out when we're talking about our escapades in our accommodation rooms, Novel chided. Yeah, the rest of the boys murmured. Perto picked up 2 cushions and held them against his ears. Just give me some more time, Perto declared. I haven't made a decision yet, Perto insisted. Well, it's not that long until university begins next month, Mareth advised. You'd better make a decision soon if you want to begin having fun with us as soon as we get to university and hit the student nights. Perto was silent for a moment. Okay, Perto told them. I'll make a decision by the end of next week. Good, the boys all shouted together, clapping Perto on the back for some encouragement. Chapter 9. The Adversary. Phase 2 of the plan had begun. Perto was beginning to crumble. He would cave in soon and want to be the same as his friends. I swung around on my computer chair, hands clasped together, and I smirked. My desire would come to fruition soon. I would get my way, and Perto and Zarvel would be over soon. Then I'd be able to breathe again. Chapter 10. The next day, the group were all together at the shopping mall in the high street. The girls sat on a seat in the shopping mall and the boys stood around them. Zarvel glanced at Perto and saw him watching her. She grinned at him for a moment, having the time of her life. She loved how Perto wasn't just her boyfriend but her friend too. They could have a great time together, including both of their friends. She was so happy the 2 sides had merged as a group. I wonder if there's going to be any hot chicks at university, Dilro stated. Everyone laughed. I sure hope so, Kazam responded, and Mazra scowled at the boys. Zarvel felt a little uncomfortable. She glanced at Perto and he was busying himself looking towards a shop. More like I hope there are hot guys in central London, and Mazra jeered back jealously. The boys quietened down, a couple of them smirking slightly. Yeah, Harissa and Tazia agreed. Zarvel didn't respond. Perto was avoiding eye contact with herself. Well, you never know, Vimal suddenly remarked. We might find the loves of our lives at university. The others giggled. Mareth punched Vimal lightly on the arm. Vimal, Mareth shouted. Stop being such a hopeless romantic. Zarvel managed a small smile whilst the others laughed. Perto didn't respond and continued to glance at the shops instead. Chapter 11. The next day, all the boys had met up at a local park to play football. Vimal said he couldn't make it. Perto went to take a sip of water from his bottle as he was sweating from playing on the hot summer's day. Mareth shouted to all the boys to take a break from playing. The rest of the boys gathered around their rucksacks and took bottles of water out of their bags to drink. A couple of them were breathless and another couple sat on the grass. Perto felt torn inside as he knew what the boys were about to ask him. Mareth looked at him eagerly. Perto felt secretly distraught. "Have you made a decision?" Mareth asked him, grinning. The other boys were all smiling and staring at Perto, waiting for an answer. Perto glanced at them all. He had struggled all week trying to come to a decision. When he went to bed at night and thought to himself, he struggled with his feelings, wanting to stay with Zarvel but not wanting to feel left out of the group of boys. What if me and Zarvel break up in the future and I regret not fitting in with the boys? Perto had questioned himself. Perto glanced around at his friends' faces and sighed. He had come to a decision. "I'm in," Perto told the boys. "I can't miss out on the game," Perto pretended, putting on a lot of bravado. He didn't care about the hooking up with other girls part, as Mareth had phrased it. He just wanted to fit in. The rest of the boys started cheering. They all hugged him and cheered his name. They all started chanting, "Perto, Perto, Perto." Perto managed to smile, enjoying the group's attention for a moment. After cheering for a few moments, Sorum suddenly spoke. "So, when are you going to break up with Zarvel?" Sorum asked Perto. "When and where?" Perto felt sad on the inside, but had made the decision to fit in with his friends. He gulped, feeling a slight lump in his throat. "As soon as I can," Perto told the boys. They all looked at him enthusiastically. Perto didn't want to get emotional in front of anyone, so suddenly roared, "Let's play football." The group of boys cheered again, all tapping him on the back, and headed to the field to play football again. Chapter 12. The Adversary. So close now. I waited with bated breath. Chapter 13. It was 2 days later, and Perto had asked Zarvel to meet up at a local restaurant in the high street to eat in the evening. They had both finished eating their half chicken and chips. Perto glanced at Zarvel and inhaled a deep breath. She smiled up at him. "I've been thinking," Perto began. "Oh?" Zarvel replied, slightly worried. She had watched a lot of films and didn't like the sound of where this conversation may be going. She hesitated and let him continue. It sounded like the start of a breakup talk. "We're both going to university now, and we have been together for a while now. So do you think maybe we should cool off, maybe break up for a while, as we're in new places? Settle in properly and maybe get back together again in the future, in a few years?" Perto asked. He stared at her, feeling extremely nervous about her answer. Zarvel stared at him, shocked. She had no idea that he would want to break up with her over starting university. Zarvel didn't want to break up with Perto, but had too much pride to argue. She didn't want to feel like a fool. She decided there and then to pretend. "Sure," Zarvel replied as normally as she could. "I completely agree," Zarvel continued. "Definitely a good idea." Perto stared at her for a moment and then said, "So this is a mutual agreement?" Yes, definitely," Zarvel agreed. "Oh, okay," Perto responded. "Can we still be friends?" Perto asked. "Yeah, of course," Zarvel feigned. Perto nodded his head and glanced at their empty plates. He was silent for a moment. Zarvel tried to glance outside the window at the cars going past. "Shall we go then?" Perto asked, indicating that the pair should leave. They had already paid for their meals at the till. "Sure," Zarvel tried to put on a fake enthusiastic voice. They both stood up and exited the restaurant through the door. Zarvel stood in front of Perto. Perto glanced down at Zarvel. "I'll walk you some of the way home," Perto suggested. "Okay," Zarvel murmured. He put his arm around Zarvel's shoulders and began to walk down the pavement. "It's been a great 2 years, though," Perto exclaimed. "Yeah," Zarvel murmured again. She glanced up at Perto and saw silent tears falling straight down his face. Zarvel's eyes began to water and she felt a tear slide down her face. They carried on walking and then Zarvel stopped and gave Perto a big hug. Perto held on to her tightly. We could still have a future, though. When we're older, in a few years, Perto asked Zarvel, his voice sounding heavy. As if, Zarvel thought in her head, starting to feel bitter. She lied out loud and responded with, "Of course." She pulled back from him and out of the hug. They had nearly reached her house. "This is goodbye then," Perto stated, eyes still watery with tears. Zarvel forced out a smile. "Yeah, see you later," Zarvel said goodbye. "Bye," Perto uttered, watching Zarvel go. She glanced at him one more time and turned around the corner towards her house. Perto watched her until she was out of sight. Perto stared at the spot that Zarvel had been standing in for a few moments. He snapped out of his trance a moment later. He thought about what to do next. He took his mobile phone out of his pocket. He looked up Mareth's number on his contact list. He hit dial. Mareth answered. "Perto," Mareth greeted him jovially. "I've done it," Perto told him. "I just broke up with Zarvel." "Oh, wow," Mareth responded. Perto began to walk down the street, continuing to fill Mareth in on the details of the breakup vaguely, trying to avoid sounding emotional. Chapter 14. The Adversary. I'd just received the phone call. It was done. My plan had succeeded. Zarvel and Perto were over. She'd be mine forever this time. I stood up from my computer chair, raising my hands in the air, and cheered and cheered. I jumped for joy. I was victorious. I'd make sure Zarvel and Perto never got back together again. I felt powerful. My sly plan had worked. I felt like I ruled the world. Zarvel was mine. All mine. Chapter 15. It was a couple of hours later. Zarvel had acted normal when she arrived at home. She had slipped into the blanket and watched TV with her parents and siblings. Perto and Zarvel had never told their parents about their relationship, as they didn't think there was any point telling them anything about a boyfriend or girlfriend until they were at the engagement stage. Zarvel stared at the TV, processing the breakup silently. It was now nearly 9:30 p.m. She decided who she should call first. She spoke most regularly to Vimal on the phone, so decided to tell him first. Vimal answered after a few seconds. "Hi, Vimal," Zarvel greeted. "Hey, Zarvel," Vimal greeted. "How are you?" "I'm fine. Me and Perto broke up," Zarvel confided in Vimal. Vimal was silent for a moment. "What?" Vimal responded, shocked. "I can't believe it. What happened?" Vimal sounded concerned. "He just said because we are starting university we should cool off, as we're in a new environment. Then he said maybe we could get back together again in the future," Zarvel informed Vimal, trying to keep her voice steady. "Oh, Zarvel, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" Vimal questioned her compassionately. Zarvel felt grateful for his concern. "Yeah, I'm fine," Zarvel murmured. "It was just a bit of a shock." Zarvel continued to talk to Vimal on the phone for the next hour or so. By the time they hung up, she felt a little bit better after being consoled by him. She then texted Amazra, Harisa, and Tazia the exact same text message to let them know her and Perto had broken up. They had all responded with kind, caring, and compassionate responses, all letting her know they were all there for her whenever she needed to talk. Zarvel felt grateful for their support. She sighed after reading their text messages. She still felt stunned from the breakup. She wasn't too sure what to do with life now. She had been with Perto for 2 years. Where would her life path take her next? Zarvel thought about Perto's suggestion of getting back together again in the future. Definitely not, Zarvel pledged to herself. She had her pride, even if she didn't mind still being friends with Perto. She still felt hurt and decided she would never get back together with him in a few years' time when he decided he was ready for her. Zarvel sighed again and logged into her social media account. She stared at her relationship status, which said, "In a relationship." She clicked on the status section and selected the drop-down list. She stared at the options and selected the option, "No longer in a relationship." Zarvel managed a small smile to herself. She still felt full of emotion on the inside and a little stunned, but promised to herself she would start moving on with life. Chapter 16. The Adversary. My smile grew wider as Zarvel's new relationship status popped up on my social media homepage. No longer in a relationship. I had never read anything sweeter. I had double confirmation. There must be some way to celebrate. I grinned to myself, wondering how to celebrate the victory over Zarvel and Perto. Winning was the most incredible feeling in the world, in the entire universe. Chapter 17. Perto sat in his family living room with his mum, staring glumly at the TV while his mum watched the news. Riza glanced at her son, feeling concerned. He had seemed a little down since yesterday evening. Perto, Riza said kindly to her son. She put her arm around him. What's wrong? You haven't seemed like yourself since yesterday, Riza asked her son. Perto leaned his head against his mum. He was silent for a few moments and then decided to tell his mum the truth about having a girlfriend. He felt so sad that he needed someone to talk to. Mum, he moaned. What is it? Riza tried to coax what was wrong out of her son, squeezing him tightly for a moment. I had an amazing girlfriend called Zarvel. We decided not to tell our parents about it because we thought there was no point bothering yourselves until we were engaged to someone. We were boyfriend and girlfriend for 2 years. Now we've broken up, Perto confided in his mum. Riza felt dismayed for a moment. She squeezed her son tightly again. What happened? Why did you break up? Riza asked her son kindly. It was the boys, Perto groaned. They started saying that there was a university game for boys that Mareth's brother used to play about hooking up with girls in their university accommodation rooms who they weren't in a relationship with. Then they would write the girls' names and activity they did with the girl in some notebook. All 7 of the boys put pressure on me, saying I wouldn't be one of them. I'd regret it later if I didn't join in and me and Zarvel didn't ask, Perto told his mum. Then I crumbled. I didn't care about the game and hooking up with different girls in my room. I just wanted to fit in with the guys and not feel left out. So, I broke up with Zarvel yesterday evening. I told the boys that I thought she was the one for me because we got along so well. Then they started laughing at me. I broke under the pressure of wanting to fit in. Now I think I've made the worst decision of my life. Zarvel changed his status to no longer in a relationship yesterday on social media. Now I feel heartbroken. I suggested getting back together again in a few years' time. I feel heartbroken. I feel lost without her. What have I done? Perto confided in his mum, confronting his emotions. Oh, Perto, Riza said compassionately. She kissed Perto on the forehead. Sometimes people get jealous of couples who are in love. They try to split them up. Sometimes they can be jealous of the love between a genuine couple, or sometimes they can even be jealous of a popular couple. I know you're a lovely boy, so maybe that's what the meddling is about. It's hard not to follow the crowd when it's your own group of friends. The truth is, it sounds like they're trying to break you up deliberately. It doesn't sound like they've got your best intentions at heart, Riza advised her son. Do you want to be with Zarvel? Riza asked her son. More than anything, Perto exclaimed. It's all I really want. Riza nodded her head seriously. You text message her to meet up right away and you get right back together again, telling her everything you've told me. I'm sure she will understand if she is as lovely as you. It's no different from her wanting to fit in with her friends if they were pressurizing her to be single, Riza advised her son. You tell her that. Really? You think she'll take me back? Perto asked his mum. Riza held Perto closely to her. Of course she will. Just tell her the truth and everything you've told me and your real feelings for her. She'll understand. Tell her you can introduce her to myself this time so I can look after you both if you think she is the perfect match for you. Then I can protect you both from people's trickery and meddling by knowing the ways of horrid people, Riza told her son. Perto smiled and kissed his mum on the cheek. Thank you, Mum, Perto exclaimed. Riza was glad to see her son smiling and in a brighter mood again. She held him close, thinking about how much she loved him and wanted to protect him from the world, and would always ensure now that he was happy by telling him to always be honest with her about everything occurring in his life. Chapter 18. Zarvel stared at her phone. It was nearly 2 p.m. She was staring at a text message she had just received from Perto. It said, Zarvel, I'm so sorry. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I was a crowd-following idiot. I was caving into pressure from the boys to break up with you to fit in with them. Please meet with me at Highgrove Park at 3 p.m. so I can explain everything in person. Please, give me a chance. I know I don't deserve it, but please let me explain. Please. Zarvel continued to stare at the message. She felt shocked when she read the part about Perto breaking up with her due to pressure from the boys. She felt shocked and confused, but wanted to hear the truth from Perto. She decided to agree to meet with him. Okay, see you at 3 p.m. at the park, Zarvel responded. Thank you. See you at 3 p.m., Perto texted back. Zarvel went to her bedroom to get ready to meet Perto at 3 p.m. Chapter 19. It was 3 p.m. and Perto watched as Zarvel walked into the park and approached the bench he was sitting on. Zarvel, Perto exclaimed, standing up as Zarvel took the seat next to him. Zarvel got down on one knee and took both of Zarvel's hands. I am so sorry, Perto pleaded. Please take me back. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Give me the chance to explain. It's the same as the girls putting pressure on you to be single to fit in with them. Please, give me a chance to explain. Zarvel stared at Perto. Okay, she responded eventually. Get up now. You can sit on the bench and explain. Zarvel nearly laughed at him kneeling on one knee. Perto sat beside Zarvel. It started like this. Mareth organised a get-together at his house for us boys only. Suddenly, he said that his brother played a game with his friends at university where they hooked up with different girls at student nights in the clubs and tried it on with them online without being in a relationship, and then wrote their names in a book along with how far they went with themselves. I didn't like the suggestion and tried to knock it down by saying they haven't even had a girlfriend for over a month yet. I said I loved you and didn't want to break up with you for this game, as they were insinuating. I thought you were the one for me and told them this wasn't just a teenage school relationship for me. I thought we could marry one day. They all started laughing at me. Then they wouldn't stop pressurizing me about it. They said, what if we break up in the future and I regret not fitting in with themselves? I've been friends with them for a long time and crumbled under the pressure of not fitting in with them all. It's no different from if the girls all suggested the same thing and kept pressurizing you to end our relationship and join in. I was weak and I thought I should fit in with themselves. I felt distraught breaking up with you. I regretted it as soon as you left me yesterday. I felt heartbroken when I saw you change your relationship status to no longer in a relationship. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done. Please, can you try and put yourself in my shoes for a moment with the girls and imagine if it were the other way around and you wanted to fit in with themselves? That's all it was. I have no interest in doing anything at all physically with other girls. I only want you. Please take me back. I want to be with you forever. I love you. I never want to be apart from one another again. I want to marry you one day. My mum even knows about us now, Perto revealed to Zarvel. Zarvel glanced down at her hands, trying to process everything Perto had told her. She tried to put herself in his shoes and imagined Harissa, Tazia, and Amazra proposing the same game. She knew eventually she may want to suggest breaking up to not be any different from themselves. Zarvel looked at Perto, admiring his honesty for a moment. She knew she was right to forgive him. I tried to imagine it the other way around, and think I may have crumbled too, wanting to be the same as the girls, Zarvel told Perto. Perto took Zarvel's hands in his. Thank you for understanding. Will you take me back? Let's be together forever, Perto pleaded. Of course I will, Zarvel told Perto. I felt heartbroken all night too. Perto hugged Zarvel. I'm so sorry, Perto apologized. I forgive you, Zarvel forgave Perto. It's okay now. Perto held on tightly to Zarvel. He kissed her on the top of her head. Zarvel enjoyed the closeness and leaned her head on his shoulder. After a few moments of what felt like pure bliss for the couple, Perto began to tell Zarvel everything his mum had advised him on. Zarvel listened intently. Chapter 20. So, your mum thinks they deliberately tried to sabotage us because they're jealous of us as a couple? Zarvel asked Perto. Yes, she was really wise and said she would look out for us both now, as I think you're my perfect match, as she knows about horrible people's meddling ways, Perto told Zarvel. Zarvel felt thrilled and excited about Perto's mum knowing about herself. She wants me to introduce you to her one day soon, Perto told Zarvel. Zarvel beamed. I can't wait, she responded. Perto hesitated for a moment and then gulped. He looked over Zarvel's face. I never want to speak to any of the boys again. I don't want anything to do with them. They're traitors. I know what my mum said is true. It all makes sense, Perto told Zarvel. Are you sure? Zarvel asked Perto, concerned as they had been his school friends for a long time. Of course, they're just backstabbers. I can just hang around with you, the girls, and Vimal now, Perto suggested humorously. Zarvel started laughing. I'm going to write a message to them all in our boys' WhatsApp group, they started, saying I never wanted to speak to them again, and then I'll exit the group and never talk to any of them ever again, Perto told Zarvel. Zarvel found what Perto was about to do very brave. They were only 18 and he had come to a very mature decision. Perto typed on his phone for a couple of minutes and then showed Zarvel what he was about to send. He had written, I made the biggest mistake of my life breaking up with Zarvel yesterday. I now know you were all trying to break us up deliberately after speaking to my parents about it. They know you got jealous of us as a couple and were trying to sabotage us. I was a fool to fall for your tricks and decide to follow the crowd. I have no interest in other girls. I only struggled wanting to fit in with you all, as I'm sure you intended. I know you were all a part of it from the way you all joined in trying to persuade me to break up with Zarvel. I love her. She has taken me back. Neither of us ever want anything to do with any of you. Never try to contact either of us. I never want to speak to any of you again. We'll be together forever. I don't want anything to do with you backstabbers ever again. Bye. Zarvel read the message, finding it all very dramatic. It's brilliant, Zarvel exclaimed, admiring Perto for what he was about to do. Perto hit send on the message. He made sure it was sent and exited the group. He hugged Zarvel again, relieved that his treacherous friends were out of his life permanently. Chapter 21. Zarvel and Perto were still talking a short while later when Perto received a new WhatsApp message on his phone. Perto looked at his phone and opened his WhatsApp. It's a message from Dilro, Perto told Zarvel. What does it say? Zarvel asked. Perto opened the message and let Zarvel read the message at the same time as himself. Dilro had written, I understand completely that you want nothing to do with any of us again. Please give me the chance to write a full confession to you both. Vimal contacted Mareth and suggested the whole plan to him. He started asking carefully if Mareth was jealous of you both. Mareth confessed that he was jealous of you both because of how everyone in school always asked about you both and how the teachers always went on about you as a couple too. Our secret was we had all expressed our jealousy as a result of all the attention that was over you both as a couple to one another. It was our secret. Vimal didn't know about it. Vimal then confessed to Mareth that he had wanted Zarvel first and how jealous he had been for the last 2 years seeing you both together. Vimal suggested the idea of the game to Mareth and said you would crumble under the pressure of wanting to fit in with us. Any 18-year-old boy would. Mareth then contacted all 6 of us, myself, Novel, Tamar, Sorum, Larith and Kezim, to see if we wanted in on the plan. We all said yes. I know I've done wrong. I was jealous of you both and how popular you are as a couple with people at school and the teachers. Send my apologies to Zarvel. We won't try and contact either of you again. I needed you to know it was Vimal who set the whole thing up. I won't pester you again now. Goodbye. Zarvel and Perto looked up at one another and both gasped in shock. Vimal had been the one pulling the strings the whole time. Chapter 22. I can't believe it, Perto shouted angrily. That two-faced, slithering son of a jackal, Perto shouted. Zarvel was shocked. How could Vimal have done this to her? He had been her lifelong friend since playgroup. How could he do this to us? Zarvel stated, shocked. We've been friends for so long. He's a two-faced, greedy, vain, arrogant, selfish snake, Perto raged. I'm going to call him now and tell him to never come near us ever again, Perto continued, enraged by the betrayal. Let me speak to him as well, Zarvel insisted, wanting to say a few final words to Vimal. I'll just message back Dilro saying thank you for the information. Bye now, forever, and block them all, Perto decided, nearly trembling with rage. I'll put him on loudspeaker, Perto told Zarvil, selecting Vimal's name from his contact list. Perto put the call on loudspeaker and Zarvil listened to the dial tone ringing. Hello, Vimal greeted a few seconds later. We know everything, Perto commented sternly down the phone. What do you mean? Is this Perto? Vimal asked, obviously seeing Perto's name come up on his screen. Yes, it's Perto. Zarvil's with me. I fell for your tricks and broke up with Zarvil yesterday. I'm sure you were thrilled to hear. I knew I had made the worst decision of my life and begged for her to get back with me today. We're back together and know everything about your scummy plan to break the two of us up. It hasn't worked and I'll never be so weak again. Never approach either of us again. If you ever come near us again, you'll be dealing with our parents and the police. Dilro confessed everything to me, as my mum knew they were deliberately sabotaging us over jealousy, when I told her everything, when I confronted them all. You never come near either of us again. Your little game didn't work, you snake, Perto raged on the phone. Vimal didn't say anything. Zarvil nodded at Perto and took the phone from him. Vimal, Zarvil said, shocked. Vimal quickly uttered, sounding shocked. I can't believe you would betray me like this after years of friendship, that you could be so evil and malicious to us both. I love Perto. You were only ever a friend, and now you're not even that. We'll never be friends again. Never come near us or try and talk to me or Perto again. I want nothing to do with you, Zarvil cried. Vimal said nothing on the other end. Bye forever and stay away from us forever, Zarvil shouted angrily down the phone. She hung up. Perto and Zarvil stared at each other shocked. Shocked at how the person they would have least suspected was the culprit trying to split them up. Perto shook his head again in disbelief. Zarvil took Perto's hands in hers and leaned her head against his shoulder. He put his arm around her. No one will ever be able to break us up again, Zarvil insisted. Never again, Perto promised. Chapter 23. The Adversary Revealed. Vimal put his phone down. He couldn't believe his identity had been revealed to Zarvil and Perto. He had thought he would get away with pulling everyone's strings from the shadows. Even worse, he couldn't believe his plan had failed. Zarvil and Perto were back together. She would never talk to him again. He would never get what he wanted, for her to be his one day. Vimal started screaming out loud in a rage. He grabbed his keyboard, unplugging it from his computer and threw it against the wall, his rage turning into a furious storm. He felt the anger rise in him and felt lost to the darkness raging inside of him. He had nothing to do but shout and scream to the air about his failed sly scheme and about not getting what it was he desired most in the world. He screamed and screamed again, alone in his room with only the air to rage to. 17 years later. Chapter 24. Zarvil was led happily down the aisle by her dad, a bouquet of flowers in her hand. She beamed as she approached Perto at the altar. They were getting married in a beautiful ceremony in a lovely park. Perto beamed back at Zarvil marrying the woman of his dreams. They both thought back at what they had been through together, surviving the horrid sabotage of jealous, traitorous friends. They had been solid for 17 years, happy together ever since, with both their parents watching out for them both. They were now old enough to marry. Zarvil beamed up at Perto as her dad handed her over to him. They both took a deep breath and got ready to say their eternal vows to one another and live happily together as a married couple forevermore. The end. Okay, I hope everyone who listens enjoys the second part of Indecisive, romance by myself, Priya Grewal. It's available on Amazon in paperback or on Kindle. So thank you to everyone who tunes into the show, and thank you to anyone who comes across my podcast and listens to it. Take care, everyone. I'll be back next Wednesday with my next episode. Have a lovely week. Until then, bye-bye.